Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And before we get started here, let me just state that no, I did not watch the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, but I read the results and I saw what happened. Brock Lesnar winning the world title. And this is like upsetting a lot of people, and it makes me very happy because it's upsetting the marks and everything. You know, I sat here on one of my last full reviews of a wrestling show, and that was WrestleMania. I reviewed the Raw and SmackDown after that, and then I decided, to call it quits. But I did say that now that Seth freaking Rollins had won the title, that was about it for me. Kofi Kingston winning the other title, I said that was about it for me. And then going on to see how bad and horrible the following two programs were, that was about it for me. So, now it was a few months. We got some total cringe with Seth Rollins and, cringy Lynch as a couple on TV. Not even the smarks could defend it. I mean, that's how bad it was. Even the Seth Rollins fans, even the Becky fans were even saying that they didn't like it. Some people liked it and, were saying, oh, how cute it was that they put them together on TV. So there was a mixed reaction. Pretty much you could just, put this file this under fact as it was bad, because pretty much when you've got some smarks saying it, that means it's pretty bad. So, if you could get any of them to admit that they're bad, some of these things are bad, then you pretty much know where it is, where it stands in terms of quality. It doesn't take a genius to see that, Becky Lynch is trying too hard in her role, and people are going to blame the feud with Baron Corbin as the reason for, the unsuccessful title run of Seth Rollins. They're going to make constant excuses like that just to steer clear of the fact that Seth Rollins is a very overrated, uncharismatic wrestler. He's not very good, and he has never been that good. It's basically been the internet fans that he really owes for his career. He really owes the marks dating all the way back to Ring of Honor for any bit of success that he ever had. So there you go with that. That's I think that's a pretty accurate assessment. I think a lot of people say, no, it's not accurate. Well, it is. And I think that could be evidenced by the ratings. But once again, people will make excuses. DVR, streaming, whatever the case may be. So now Brock Lesnar is the champion again. And, it's just funny. It's like they keep going back to Brock. Like every single time they do an experiment, they go back to Brock Lesnar. And they constantly keep doing this. Like they did the Kevin Owens experiment. It went back to Brock Lesnar. They did the Seth Rollins experiment. It went back to Brock Lesnar. They had a whole bunch of guys in the Money in the Bank, and they gave it to Brock Lesnar, who wasn't even in the match, because that's how pathetic the roster is. And people keep questioning, why doesn't WWE do anything with the stars that they have? What stars? Seriously, this is a star. That's the closest thing, in anything that I will talk about in this video that will come close to being a star, folks. Besides Brock Lesnar, he's a star, but he's established. I mean, because the things that Brock Lesnar accomplished from 2002 to 2004, basically it already cemented him. He had done more in a short amount of time. I mean, that still is a very impressive time period. I think for one star to accomplish so much in such little time, I mean, that was quite the rise to fame. That was quite the rise to superstardom. And he did it during a time really where wrestling really wasn't that popular. And that's the thing that we all have to come to terms with, guys. Wrestling is not popular. And I've said this time and time again. Do you guys ever wonder why there hasn't been another wrestling boom period? This is what everyone seems to ignore. If the product was truly great, don't you think that we'd had another wrestling boom period a long time ago? Don't you think that wrestling would be on the uprise? Don't you think that people would be clamoring and it would be in demand? Now, I know that Fox is getting WWE to be on their network. What is it, in October? I don't know, but like, that's because they don't have ideas for new shows, so they want to go with a pre-existing property, and they're hoping that, they're going to be able to change this product. I wouldn't get my hopes up. Many people are getting their hopes up, but I learned a long time ago that Vince McMahon is a very stubborn man. And I've been also saying this in my videos, that many people said that, okay, that when Triple H takes over the company, it's not going to get any better. The funny thing is that the smart god, CM Punk, who I actually like, who doesn't like smarks, ironically, and we already did a video on CM Punk. He even said in this pipe bomb promo, did he not, that his idiot son-in-law would take over, and maybe that was because they were planning on having a feud later down the line, and maybe that was before Triple H took over NXT, and all of a sudden, everyone who was complaining about Triple H, he's burying everybody, which is agreeable, to say the least. That was very true, that he was burying a lot of stars. I have a lot of negative videos on Triple H. I like the guy as a talent. Do I think that he's buried a lot of people and has been very overbearing? Yes. But it seems like a lot of people have forgotten about these things about Triple H. And like I said, I'm very surprised at Triple H. A guy, who's a bodybuilder and all these different things that, you could say about Triple H and like the mentality. I always thought he was old school, trained by Killer Kowalski. I never thought that he'd be into a guy like Ricochet or Johnny Gargano, these Mamalukes, I never thought that would be something Triple H would go for, but apparently it is. So that's why we're getting the product that we're getting, because, whatever like influence that McMahon is taking from Triple H, it's not good. It's like, and I said, they're, the smarks, the marks, they think that wrestling is not good because a guy like Ricochet is not getting pushed properly. It's, it has nothing to do with the fact that, characters and true superstars haven't been built in years. That has nothing to do with it. Forget about the fact that there's nobody marketable on the roster, or those who are marketable are put in positions where they look like complete idiots. See, Jinder Mahal or Elias or Braun Strowman. Those are examples of people that could be stars, but they don't view them as stars. Instead, this is why, because we're not getting enough 20-minute matches, because we're not getting enough TV time for the flippy dippy indie darlings. These are the reasons why. I mean, because McMahon won't let these people shine. And what do these smarks mean when they say let people shine? I mean, I don't get it. Like, that's all that's on TV are these guys. It's like not enough for you people to see Seth Rollins, an indie darling, as a champion and being unsuccessful. And they still won't accept that. Still won't accept that as proof that business model does not work. Instead, let's focus our efforts on attacking Goldberg and The Undertaker for putting on a bad match because the company forced them to do it. And then let's all get behind Matt Riddle, who's bashing Goldberg, a guy that could probably teach a goofball like the shoeless Matt Riddle quite a bit. But instead, let's bash it, because that's what it is. It's a bunch of goofballs, like I said. And you have it. Who's in charge of AEW right now? A guy who's a mark himself in Cody Rhodes. And speaking of AEW, Didn't they just have the fight for the Fallen pay-per-view? I don't hear even anyone talking about it. I think that the Smarks are finally admitting defeat on that one. I think that they're admitting that Brad was right all along, that AEW was overhyped. I think that's the case. As I hear more people talking about Brock Lesnar winning the championship than I hear people talking about Fight for the Fallen. Of course, people are going to say that's not true and they're going to dislike the video. Go right ahead and do that. But all I'm saying is, when there's something that happens with a popular star that everyone knows that's notable, even if it is something they've done before, you know, I don't know what this is. You could say that it's McMahon trolling. You could say a bunch of things. But what do I think that it is? I think it's basically them just doing damage control like they always do. You know, they make these quick, sudden changes and everything. And I mean, this was just only a matter of time. But, you know, and they're probably going to do the Lesnar-Seth Rollins match at SummerSlam. That's probably going to be their next logical move, I would suppose. But, you know, they're doing it because it's like that was not working. So they flipped the switch to try to change things up. Now, is it going to work? Is it going to lead it to an increase in ratings? Of course it's not. You think that that's going to... See, that's the thing. Every single time that they do something, everyone thinks that, that's it. This is either going to make or break the company, or this is going to lead to the uprise of the company. It will do neither. It will remain stagnant, folks. It's not going to get any better. Will it get worse? Well, that is possible. They have gotten worse and have continued to get worse over time. I think maybe you might see little changes when they go over to Fox. I think you might see that, you know, they might not be too keen on the whole New Day thing. You know, I don't think people clapping to the ring is really going to, you know, and here's the thing. I'm looking at Extreme Rules, and Extreme Rules is proof that they are never going to change. I mean, guys, like, just look at the results of this pay-per-view. Let's just run through it really quickly. Kofi Kingston, you know, what happened in his match? What happened? He retained. Then you've got Kevin Owens, you know, beating Dolph Ziggler in a short match, and now everyone's saying that he's stone cold because he won with a stunner. Guys, if you are comparing, and I don't even remember who Kofi Kingston wrestled, to tell you the truth. Who did he wrestle? Anyway, you had Kevin Owens getting heralded as the next Stone Cold because he performed the stunner. If you're comparing that fat bastard to Stone Cold Steve Austin, who, by the way, Stone Cold's in his 50s, and the guy looks, you know, the guy's still jacked as hell. I mean, he's in great shape. And if you're comparing Kevin Owens, who had months and months at home to, you know, to work out and try to look better when he got back on camera, but he still looks horrible. You know, he had enough time to get all those tattoos while he was away, but he didn't have you know, he didn't pick up a dumbbell. He didn't get on a machine or anything, or pull on a cable of some sort, you know, or run or do something, some fucking calisthenics, you know. Instead, you know, he still looks horrible, and you're comparing him to Stone Cold. Get out of my face with that garbage. So, you know, he has a 15-minute match with Dolph Ziggler. I mean, that's great for Ziggler. You know, they flew him out for 15 seconds of a match where his entrance was longer than the match that he was in. They tried out The Undertaker, which I will probably check that match out on the network. I heard that it was pretty good. See, once again, Roman Reigns sucks, right? That's what you guys say. But he had the best, most memorable match on the card. Well, go figure. Maybe because Roman Reigns is probably the only thing that WWE has close to a legitimate star besides Brock Lesnar. And then we had, you know, I'll give them credit for trying to do something unique. with Seth Rollins teaming up with Cringy Lynch, against Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. And, the pay-per-view was so bad that I saw that someone put a close-up of Lacey Evans' ass on Instagram and said that this was the best part of the show. I mean, at that point, if your mind is wandering that far into those recesses, then you know that you're looking at a bad show. But I will say that, at least that they tried to do something different there. It was a mixed tag. Of course, it can't be an intergender. Forget about the fact that the guy I actually was pretty close there. The man is in this match. No, not Seth Rollins, not Baron Corbin. Cringy Lynch, the man. Isn't it funny that the man can't wrestle another man in the match? So, they did that concept. So, that was different where, both titles were on the line. Of course, how that ended. And then you had New Day winning the tag titles for the umpteenth time. And I'm just like, looking at like Wade Keller's review, and I'm not going to say anything about Wade Keller's comments or anything like that. It's just what I use as a reference material, just so I could see what happened on the show. I'm thinking back, like, Daniel Bryan won the title, right, like at the end of last year. And, he had this great character, a great character that I praised to the heavens, and I said that this is what wrestling is all about. This is a fun, timely character. He was playing this SJW environmentalist character, and it was great. It was great fun, and Daniel Bryan played it. He seemed very comfortable in the role, and his acting was spot on. It was tremendous. Even Poston, who despises the WWE probably even more than I do, he even gave it credit. He even said that Daniel Bryan, I don't even think that Poston, you care for Daniel Bryan, but like as a wrestler, I do, but I don't think that you do, but you said that his character was intriguing, and it was done right until they had him go mute. Remember, and he was just sitting there during the press conference for the contract signing with Kofi Kingston, and their idea, for such a great character was just to sit there and just say nothing. That was a great way for them to use that character by, someone who's cutting great promos and great rants. Why not just completely silence him for a few weeks leading up to his match? What a tremendous way to build a character, right? So there you go. Anything that's good, it needs to be shut down or stopped or tweaked. Because, God forbid if something's good or intriguing on the show. So, anyway, back to what I was saying about Daniel Bryan in regards to this pay-per-view that took place. Here we are, a few months later, and the champion, the WWE champion, is now the tag champion. And then you had AJ Styles, who, what was it, last year he was a champion. He's already the US champion. Like, once again, knocking people down to different roles. And then, that I don't like Finn Balor, but he's on the pre-show. This is the Universal Champion, the first ever Universal Champion, the current Intercontinental Champion, the Intercontinental Championship, a belt that many people say the match that belt was involved in at WrestleMania 3 and at WrestleMania 10 was the show stealer. It's a legendary belt. It's an iconic belt. It's a belt that has a lot of history that a lot of famous, popular, super over wrestlers have worn, and that title has been something. Now it's just basically a prop. It's something to give the former world champions when they have no idea what to do with them next after their failed world title run. So, that's really interesting. And I realize they did the New Day thing with the belts because they wanted to make everyone in New Day a world champion, but it's ridiculous. Like, a team that's been around for they've been around for 5 years now, roughly, right? They've now given them the title. And what have they been champions like 8 or 9 times already? Maybe 10 times. I don't fucking know, but it's a ridiculous amount of reigns. I mean, how about spacing these out a little bit? I mean, it's like we can't go 2 seconds without New Day having the belts. You might be saying, Brett, you're not watching the show anyway. Yeah, well, I'm ranting on it, okay? Because I'm just, listen, guys, I might not be currently watching the product. I might still be following it through Instagram and just seeing what's going on in the results. I can't bear to watch it because I can't bear to see something that I once loved and was a big part of my life. Big part of my life on YouTube. I guess it still is because I've still done a considerable amount of rants on it. I just can't stand that they've let it get to this level. I mean, this is like laughable. And goddamn, who did Kofi Kingston face on this pay-per-view? I can't even remember. That's how bad the show was. Oh, Samoa Joe. So, what did he beat Samoa Joe or something like that? Yeah, see, I couldn't even remember. Samoa Joe is a fat bastard, and I couldn't even remember him. That's how forgettable these shows are. I mean, Samoa Joe is so fat that when I think about Samoa Joe, my head should explode because he's so goddamn fat, my mind shouldn't even be able to contain him. God, I mean, like, honestly, it's like, it's like every single time I think of this product, I feel like Homer Simpson. I want to just choke Bart. And he's not even real. I'm just saying, it's just, I feel this show, I always said there's potential on. Yes, I look through the roster and I do see people. I mean, I'm looking on this show. There's AJ Styles. Dolph Ziggler is a talented guy. He's a little bit annoying, especially on social media. Oh, Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley. They had a last man standing match. So, so the only thing I see when I look at a match between Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman is I see two guys with so much potential that, like, these should have been world champions. Like, I don't get this. You're giving the belt again to Brock Lesnar. But if you built up either of these guys properly, and you were building up Braun Strowman efficiently during the feuds he had with Roman Reigns, I think pretty much almost everyone was intrigued. Even people who hated Roman Reigns, they, okay, whatever, they still got behind Braun Strowman because they wanted to see him beat up Roman Reigns. Whatever the case may be, if someone is behind a wrestler, that's all that counts. It doesn't matter how they get there. It's just a matter of people paying attention to that individual, negative or not. It's like on YouTube. If someone dislikes your video, it's still an interaction. It's still getting a reaction. People hate that explanation, but that is the thing. People hate Roman Reigns, but he gets people to hate him. So that still accounts for something, right? And yes, it does. But if they built up Braun Strowman properly, like, okay, if the guy is late to work and you don't like, how he does business, then why is he even an employee there? What sense does it make to keep him around to just eternally not make him champion just because he shows up late? So find the guy, do something to try to correct the problem, and then go from there. But instead, no. You know what your punishment is, Braun? We're just going to keep on making you go through this endless cycle until you crack and possibly quit the company. And in the case of Bobby Lashley, they could have built this guy up a long time ago. Instead of the nonsense they did with Sami Zayn and had a bunch of like indie stars cross-dressing to pretend to be his sisters. I mean, they did more with this guy before. Remember, like, when they first introduced him, it was the end of 2005, and people were kind of sort of behind him in a way. But a lot of people said that he wasn't ready. That was a more successful time, a way more successful time for him. But I don't know what it was. I guess maybe because he left and he went on to TNA. I guess they're punishing him. Who knows? I guess it doesn't even really matter, because you could have a guy who's been like a loyal company guy for so long. Like, I don't know, this guy like Elias. What had he done wrong to deserve how he's treated him. You know, he's done nothing really. Like, that's, even the dirt sheets couldn't even seem to dig anything up on this guy. It's just some people are just targeted, and their careers are just, they end up being horrible, aimless careers. And that's the thing now. You see on Extreme Rules here, this was a perfect example of how nothing changes or nothing is different. Or just basically it shows that they were correcting a few mistakes that they made, like Seth Rollins. And aside from that, it really was a show that showed that nothing really had changed all that much. Going back to things from years ago with AJ Styles teaming up with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson again. You know, after that already didn't take off, like, let's go back to that again. Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar again. You know, it's funny, like, everyone complained about Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar fought each other too many times. But then when you actually count the amount of matches they had, it wasn't really even that much. But, you know, you won't see anyone complaining about how many times these two guys faced one another. So that's that. You know, that it's not really, I was gonna say it's interesting, but it's really expected, because, you know, it's selective memory. It's whatever these smarks want to remember. So, you know, there you go, guys. There's my thoughts on, I didn't watch Extreme Rules, but those are my thoughts on what happened at Extreme Rules. And, you know, the last time I did one of these, there was a freaking riot, you know, when I did the Double or Nothing, where I basically viewed video clips and looked at results and based my opinion off of that. People said that it was a totally invalid opinion because I didn't watch the show. When people didn't realize that in that review I wasn't rating it based on match quality, I was rating it based on things that happened and how much they were changing the world, and that's what they claimed that they were going to do, so I was holding them to that. I mean, goddamn, if you're going to say you're going to change the world, and, you know, people were like, you know, they didn't really read into sarcasm. They were like Sheldon Cooper, where they were like, well, they didn't mean they were going to literally change the world. Because I made fun of Cody Rhodes, and I said that, you know, what does he think? He's the president of the United States, that he's going to change the world. I damn well knew that he meant the wrestling world. I didn't actually, I'm not as dumb as some of these people that's actually what I thought that he meant. I was quite familiar with, you know, what he was trying to say. But people wanted to be wise guys, and they wanted to pick at what I said. Basically anything but addressing the core view of the topic that was at hand. Probably see that here in this video as well. But I think most people probably will agree with this one more than the AEW, because I will say it's very impressive. The AEW Defense Squad is quite vast, and it's quite passionate. And, you know, imagine if the AEW Passion Squad was that passionate about righting the wrongs of society. We'd probably not have any wars, and we probably wouldn't have any trouble in any facet of life. I mean, just think about if people were that impassioned about other things, the way how AEW fans are. So there you go, guys. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. And guys, I will see you next time.